How are you doing? My name is Dry Bones, and that's a picture of me right there. I know I've changed a bit, haven't I? It's been a few years, but I mean, haven't we all changed? Anyway, I'm a writer for glg-gaming.com, and that's our logo right there. I'm here to discuss a variety of topics. I'm going to be doing these videos pretty often. I'm not the owner of the site, I'm just a writer, but I'm going to be the face of GLG, so to speak. Just let me tell you a little bit about myself. I'm a Nintendo fanboy. I'm not what you think of as stereotypical Nintendo fanboy though. I mean, I'm not angry or obnoxious. At least I don't think I am. I play a variety of different consoles. I have every Nintendo home console except the original NES. And I also have a PS2 and PS3. And Xbox 360, so I'm not completely one-sided biased. I just want to make that clear. Anyway, today I'm going to discuss gaming mascots. Specifically the mascots of Nintendo, Sony, and Microsoft. Sure, we might dive into Sonic a little bit too, but I mean, they're not a console maker anymore, so most of our focus is going to be on Nintendo, Sony, and Microsoft, and their identity in addition to their mascot. So first off, I have a question to ask you guys. Who is Nintendo's mascot? Any idea? It's a tough one, I know. Might need some time to think about that one, huh? Alright, that's all the time you get. I mean, it's really not that hard, is it? Nintendo's mascot, Mario. Duh. You know, the Italian plumber, created by a Japanese, speaks English. Yeah, you probably know him. He kind of transcends cultures. But I mean, in all seriousness, he really does transcend cultures. Everybody knows Mario. You go throughout the world and people know him, everybody loves him. You don't even have to be a gamer to know Mario. You just stop some random dude on the street, show him a picture of Mario and be like, hey, you know this guy? Oh yeah, that's Mario. But, I mean, Mario clearly sticks out as Nintendo's primary mascot, but you know, he's really not the only one. They have plenty of others, like Link, Pikachu, Donkey Kong, obviously. We can't forget him. I mean, he's been around even longer than Mario. I'd say most people know him. But on the other hand, if you start thinking about Sony's mascots, Microsoft's mascots, it's kind of just like, really, who is it, you know? I mean, Sony actually has some mascots. They do have a handful, I'll give them credit for that. The problem is, none of them really stick out, none of them really ever got huge enough to be known as Sony's mascot. There's Sly Cooper, Sackboy. I mean, they're more traditional kinds of mascots. They're, you know, cartoony, and you can make a lot of merchandise for them and toys and whatever. And then there's also Nathan Drake. He's not so much your traditional mascot, where he's just plain, you know, lovable. You want to make stuffed animals out of him or whatever, but he is a mascot. You can associate him with Sony, but none of them really jump out. None of them stick out as a clear mascot for Sony, and they're not really that recognizable. I will give Sony some credit for making those PlayStation All-Stars games, kind of like the Super Smash Bros. Games, because that shows they're trying to make their characters more visible, trying to have more of a mascot. So I give them credit for that. But then, on the other hand, when you talk about Microsoft, do they even have a mascot? I mean, I guess most people would probably say it's Master Chief from Halo, but he's just not really what I think of with a mascot. Maybe that's just me, but in my opinion, he just doesn't seem like your typical mascot. He's too much of a larger-than-life image. He's too tough, too serious, too John Wayne-like, you know, just your typical person can't really connect with him. He's just not lovable enough. And of course, this is just my opinion, but Mascot should usually be more of a cartoony figure, but he's not. And the thing is, his spectrum of appeal just isn't that broad enough, at least in my perspective. You know, he might be tough, might be awesome, whatever, but I don't think he's going to win any support from parents or anything. You know, he's not going to help more girls get into gaming because they're kind of just going to look at it and be like, oh, just some dumb, stereotypical tough guy or whatever. And I just think guys like Mario have a lot more widespread appeal, obviously. So they might want to think about some other types of mascots. I think Microsoft is a company where they just don't want to be considered childish. They just try to be tough and, you know, masculine or whatever. But it could really help them if they just gave it a shot at having some more cartoon-type characters as mascots. You know, they have also stated that gamers don't want a game like PlayStation All-Stars or Super Smash Bros. That statement's just kind of silly. I mean, they obviously do want them. They sell like crazy, especially Super Smash Bros. So I think it would be a wise business decision for Microsoft to invest in a game like that. And I noticed that they seem to underutilize a lot of their more cartoonish characters that could be considered mascots. I might be into Nintendo, but I still support Rare, you know. I want them to succeed. I still like them. But ever since they were bought out by Microsoft, they've really been underutilized. They kind of took a back seat. Of course, Rare isn't the same as it used to be, but I still like to see some of the characters make a comeback, you know. Like, any of you remember Conker? I mean, Conker wasn't a huge success, but he was in Diddy Kong Racing, and then he had his own game, Conker's Bad Fur Day for N64. I mean, it wasn't a huge commercial success, but it was really well received, kind of got a cult following, you know. And then there's that game, Conker Live and Reloaded for the original Xbox. I mean, that's all they've done with them, and it was just a remake of Conker's Bad Fur Day. You know, I mean, that is cool to have on the console, but it's just nothing new, no new imagination for them, not really a new way of using them or anything, just the same exact game, basically. And after that, they didn't do anything else with them. I mean, nothing for Xbox 360. In my opinion, that's just sad. They should really utilize them more. People would love that. And I mean, he might be a bit more adult-oriented, but like I said, Microsoft does kind of seem like they like the tougher, more adult-type image, so he could be a smart mascot for him because he's likable, at least, you know? But then, he's not their number one best choice for mascot, at least in my opinion. There is one that definitely is a clear front-runner to me. And that's going to be Banjo-Kazooie. And you guys remember them? You know, they had that game for the N64, Banjo-Kazooie. It's a pretty good game. I mean, I thought Banjo-Tooie, the successor, was even better, but that's kind of been forgotten. I mean, they were popular games, but I would like them to reach a higher level of prominence, you know? Because they were commercial successes, but they never got to be as recognizable as, you know, Mario, obviously, or Donkey Kong, or even Pikachu or Link. But I think they had a lot of potential. It's kind of a shame they basically disappeared. I mean, all Microsoft has done with them was that game back in '08 for 360, Banjo-Kazooie Nuts and Bolts, and I give them credit for innovating with a new game, but that's not really how I want a Banjo-Kazooie game to be. They made it like a game where you basically create and drive vehicles. It's not your platformer like Banjo-Kazooie and Banjo-Tooie were. I mean, I think Microsoft would really benefit from creating a typical platform adventure game. Like I said, they probably think that's too childish or whatever, but they're fun and there's a lot to do. They're a lot more deep than people assume. You spend a lot of time on a game like that, trust me. I mean, I think Microsoft would really benefit from making a platforming game like that with Banjo-Kazooie as a star. It's something that fans would go crazy over. They've been waiting 13 years now for that, since Banjo-Tooie. It'd be a smart choice. I mean, I'm pretty confident it'd sell, but Microsoft just doesn't want to bother with that. I think it's kind of a waste, really. They have these characters, Banjo-Kazooie, Conker, that they could be using, and they could be great mascots, but they just don't really want to invest in that. But I mean, it's not like it hurt the company's reputation to have a cartoony character or whatever. I mean, it just offers a little bit more widespread appeal, It'd be smart, and I'd love to see it. I know I'd buy those games, so. And, I mean, the biggest thing with having a mascot, the reason I think it's important, is that it kind of gives a sense of identity. You think Nintendo, you think Mario, then you think accessibility, friendliness, you think of all the tradition, all the history of Nintendo. But then you think of Sony or Microsoft, I mean, just in my eyes at least, they don't have that much of an identity. It kind of comes down to the specs of the console. I mean, that is a good thing. It's good that they make powerful consoles, good graphics. But I know a lot of people like to buy a Wii, because, or a Wii U at this point too, because that's more unique, kind of different from the other two. But then they, a lot of times, don't buy an Xbox and a PlayStation. They just choose one or the other. They decide, okay, which one do I like better? Which one has the better online community? Which one is the better value? Which one has slightly better graphics, slightly more power? It comes down to stuff like that. But you don't really think of the identity or the character of the console so much, And that's one thing that I think Nintendo has a huge advantage of, because if Nintendo's struggling, I mean, they can release a Mario game, it's probably going to sell. Not for sure, but it's safe, I mean, they always have that to fall back on. People criticize them for that, of course, but it does sell, and I mean, it's a good security blanket, so to speak. But then with Sony and Microsoft, it's just not quite as recognizable as far as their mascots go, People will get excited over Halo games. They will sell pretty well, and PS3 has a lot of great exclusives. But the thing is, say that, I mean, God forbid, I don't want either of those consoles to fail. But if Microsoft or Sony were to fail, I mean, they don't have something that's really recognizable, attention-grabbing, like a Mario game is, They release a Halo game or Uncharted or whatever, people might buy it, they might not, but it just doesn't have quite as much appeal to the general public, so to speak. And then you think Sega, I mean, they had to drop out of the console business, but they had Alex Kidd back in the day, and then later on Sonic, and, Sonic kind of helped them live on as a third-party developer. Without Sonic, they probably wouldn't have made it at all, but they've been able to string him along quite a bit. But say Microsoft or Sony went out of business in terms of making consoles, I don't think people would get excited over having, Halo games or Uncharted on their console as they would over Mario. I mean, if Nintendo failed and only went third party, I think people would be really excited over getting all those games. They'd have all these recognizable faces they can suddenly have on their console. But then Microsoft and Sony, I think if one fails, a lot of people would tend to jump onto the other and say, okay, Xbox is gone, I'll just get a PlayStation, because I feel that a lot of fans aren't as emotionally invested. I mean, that does matter, and if they want to get that kind of emotional investment, it'd be a smart thing to invest in a mascot that's really recognizable, aimed to compete with Mario, basically. I mean, identity is an important thing. I'd love to see them get some more mascots, kind of make something now a bit more. I mean, that's just my opinion. You could disagree with it. I mean, comment whatever you think. Want to discuss, debate, tell me if you love me, tell me if you think I suck. Whatever, I can take criticism. That's just my opinion. You can give yours, and that's pretty well it for today. We're going to be doing some more videos, so look out for that. Probably Wii U HD remakes pretty soon. We're going to talk about those. We're going to talk about news and such, opinion, and hopefully some gaming reviews in the near future. So, it was nice talking to you guys, and thank you. Talk to you guys later.